Silas Malafaia, who on September 7th insulted General Thomas Paiva, commander of the Brazilian army. He called him a coward, a wimp, all sorts of things, called him negligent because Thomas Paiva never took a stance supporting the coup plotters. He will also be charged with an insult charge. Let's watch a short excerpt from Minister Alexandre de Moraes' speech so we can understand a bit, as well as from the Deputy Attorney General of the Republic and also from Flávio Dino. Let's listen to Alexandre de Moraes first. Moraes, a little snippet from yesterday's speech during the hearing on whether to accept the complaint against Silas Malafaia and Gustavo Gaia. Pay attention.
Unfortunately, and Your Excellency, who was a member of both houses, honoring the National Congress, unfortunately, today members of Parliament, regardless of party or ideological position, members of Parliament with opposing views, they get together, whether on television, on the radio, or on various shows. Exactly for that, for one to keep offending the other. Each one shares it on their social networks. Each one gets a lot of likes, and they manage to raise public awareness of their names. In other words, they themselves use mutual insults as a form of electoral campaign. And we are seeing this not only in relation to members of Parliament, but currently in relation to the Federal Supreme Court itself and the ministers of that institution, where politicians who don't have the necessary votes to secure the candidacies they want end up wanting to offend the judiciary, end up wanting to offend the honor and dignity of the members of the judiciary, using us as an electoral stepping stone.
Who is he talking about here, especially, guys? Who is Alexandre de Moraes talking about in this part, especially? There's a pre-candidate out there whose whole political shtick right now, since he wants to run, is saying he's a presidential hopeful. He hasn't presented anything about his government plan so far, nothing. The only thing he does is make little puppet videos attacking the ministers of the Federal Supreme Court. This is what Minister Alexandre de Moraes is talking about. Who is this candidate? Zema? It's not even Flávio, because Flávio doesn't really have the courage to attack the Federal Supreme Court. No, Andre, he doesn't have it. He lets out a few little things like that from time to time, little by little, and then Flávio Bolsonaro backs off, especially because he wants to sell the idea that he's moderate, that he's not his father. Really? So what's happening? Romeu Zema, former governor of Minas Gerais, knows that this space for attacking the Supreme Court is empty among the extremists, so now he's adopted an all-out attack strategy against the Federal Supreme Court. Especially because, as I've already told you, they need to take votes from whom? From the runner-up, who is Flávio Bolsonaro. So Romeu Zema adopted an all-out attack stance against the Supreme Court to see if he can take votes from Flávio Bolsonaro. He doesn't present any proposals, as Alexandre de Moraes is saying. He's using these attacks to get views, likes, and to see if he can get votes. But there's a catch. Yesterday's polls, and I even talked to you about the polls during yesterday's live at 8:30. And by the way, there's going to be a debate today, me and Michelle, today at 8 p.m. We're going to talk about the polls, Michelle and I. And Michelle thinks there's a trap. From the right to Lula. Lula, here's the link to the debate. I'll also leave it in the first comment after the live stream. Today at 8 p.m., there will be a debate, Michelle and I. We will talk about the results of the electoral polls, and we will also talk about public safety. Things really blew up during the public safety discussion. But that's okay. So what happened next? Romeu Zema, in these latest polls from Nexos, Atlas, and Intel, Romeu Zema dropped. He dropped, Andre? Romeu Zema dropped. And Alexandre de Moraes is even going to talk about this here. That this situation doesn't fool people anymore. People want to know from the presidential candidate what his proposal is to improve people's lives, especially for the majority of the Brazilian people, which is 80% who are the workers and the poorest. And not this situation where I have an enemy, communism, the Supreme Court, the dictator, whatever. That only fools the gullible crowd because then they sweet talk you and you feel good. Do you understand, my dear? That's what Alexandre de Moraes is saying here. And this message is for Romeo Zema. And by the way, they've already put Romeo Zema in a tough spot. I'll show you in a bit. Let's hear what Alexandre de Moraes says next.
Obviously, and recent polls have shown this, really recent ones just from yesterday have shown this. These politicians who intend, instead of discussing health, education, public safety, instead of discussing what they've done in their terms, how they did it, what good things they did, if they did any, what bad things they did, if they did any as well. They want to use a supposed polarization as a stepping stone against the Supreme Federal Court, not with criticism, but with verbal attacks, which would be considered harassment anywhere in the world. And with that, I say again, they want likes, but they think the voters, both men and women, aren't aware of this, Mr. President. And worst of all, it's not just about offending the institution, offending the judiciary, offending the justices and the female justice of the judiciary. The worst is offending the intelligence of the electorate. The voter, both men and women, don't want that. Yeah? This collective hysteria of insults and more insults. The voter, both men and women, the entire national electorate wants solutions to Brazil's problems. Whether it's in São Luís, Your Excellency State, or in Belo Horizonte State. Of our Dean, Minister Carmen, there in Piracicaba, the municipality. From my state as well, from Minister Suzanin, whether in São Paulo, the capital, my place of origin. The voter, Mr. João, the voter, Mrs. Maria, the voter who takes the bus there. Next to Arena Corinthians and Itaquera, that symbol.
Okay, you already mentioned soccer, right? You can't even have the slightest little thing involving him and Flávio Dino before people start talking about soccer, right? I have nothing against soccer. I'm a Corinthians fan in Sao Paulo and a Flamengo fan in Rio. You get it? So it's all good. But here's what happens. Yesterday, the election results came out and Zema took a hit. Why? Because he's not presenting anything. He's just doing what? Attacks. Nothing more. That's what Minister Alexandre de Moraes is saying. And politics isn't for that, guys. You get it? I think things will change. Let's see the part where the representative from the Prosecutor General's office, the federal prosecutor, talks a little bit about the aggression against Lula. I found it very interesting because I repeat, all of this is happening against these two representatives. Oh, poor things. Silas against Silas and Gustavo Gaia because the Prosecutor General's office filed the complaint. Look at what she says. Here's the excerpt. Here, pay attention.
Look at what she's seeing. The caption of the photo said, "Attention, Lula has already ordered his presidential photo to be replaced in all ministries and state-owned companies." The spread of the false image of the President of the Republic, associating him with Nazism, therefore, with a doctrine that glorifies it, banned for its nefarious objectives from the legal system and suggesting his sympathy for the persecution and extermination of a certain ethnic group, symbolized by the insertions made in the original image, there is no doubt that the accused freely and consciously offended the dignity and decorum of the victim. It is also true that the immunity of words and opinions granted to parliamentarians in the exercise of their office is not absolute. It must always give way whenever it exceeds the limits of political debate and becomes abusive. When it enters the realm of offense, it affects honor.
There you go. The prosecutor here made it clear that this post by Gustavo Gaia is extremely serious. Showing Lula with a rifle saying, as if he were a terrorist with the swastika, the symbol of Nazism, that he can't do that and that he went beyond the boundaries of political debate. That's why parliamentary immunity doesn't protect him. Parliamentary immunity says that deputies and senators have absolute freedom of expression when it comes to words, opinions, and votes. It's not a shield for this kind of situation outside beyond the field of politics, because this isn't politics, folks. Politics is exactly the art of debate, contradiction, dialogue, disagreement, and criticism, but within the bounds of respect. And because of that, he is not protected by parliamentary immunity. And I also want to highlight within this environment that it was a real lesson. The session of the first panel of the Federal Supreme Court yesterday, a little snippet from the speech of our dear, right, who? Flávio Dino. And his stances are also always very much needed.
Regarding the attempt to turn public debate in Brazil into a kind of empire ruled by the law of the strongest, the one who shouts the loudest, the one who has more economic power, who insults more, who has less ethical and aesthetic regard, is the one who prevails. And that's why, in my view, broader criminal protection is necessary and consistent with the challenge at hand, especially considering everything Justice Alexandra said about the judiciary itself. By the grace of God, I was able to run in several elections.
I won thanks to God and the voters, right?
That's right.
I won. The people's voice is God's voice. Thank you.
Amen. I won some and lost others.
I only learned about losing here, right? Your Honor lost, but next week you'll win.
I lost Minister Carmen 2 elections, 2008 and 2010. So I followed the public debate. But I lost in that situation, Dr. Lisetta, where I almost won.
No, but the problem is that, just to correct, because everywhere I go, I say I've never lost an election, except in the Supreme Court.
But in this case, Minister Carmen, as I go through this rich, intense experience, every day I am more perplexed by the idea that some people think that by attacking the Supreme Court, they will gain votes. And really, it's something unusual in the concert of nations. It's not just in Brazil. I think no one in the world ever imagined something like this.
But you know, we have to understand, right, guys? Does it win votes, Andrea? I wouldn't say it wins votes. I would say it takes votes away. What do you mean, Andrea Gonçalves? Today, attacking the federal Supreme Court with the current lineup of pre-candidates takes votes away from Flávio Bolsonaro. Why? Because Flávio went soft. Flávio is trying there. Every now and then he makes a little attack, says something, and then he takes it back because he's trying to act moderate to try to take votes away from Lula. From that camp, from the center crowd, from the center left, from the center right. So he's trying to act like a moderate. So what is Romeu Zema trying to do? Playing the tough guy, all-out aggression act. But why? Just to take votes from runner-up Flávio Bolsonaro. So he's acting crazy like an extremist Bolsonarist since Flávio lost his momentum. So it's not that he gains votes, but he takes votes away. There are Bolsonarists who don't like this peace and love attitude from Flávio Bolsonaro. We can't forget, Flávio Bolsonaro made a post saying he supports women and the LGBT community. Since when? That he's far right, that Bolsonarists support women and the LGBT community. Flávio Bolsonaro made a post last month using toads to include everyone. That gender-neutral language, right? For example, I'm not in favor of that. I don't see the logic. I'm left-wing, but that's fine. And then Flávio went and made a post using that gender-neutral language, todes, that kind of thing, you know? Oh, wow, people really went after him. Why? Because Flávio is desperate. He needs to break out of his Bolsonaro supporter bubble to have a chance at beating Lula. So meanwhile, he's forgetting about his extremist base that's being pulled away by who? Romeu Zema. So he's trying to take votes from Lula on one side, from the moderate side, and on the other side, he's losing votes from the extremists who aren't satisfied with this cute Flávio Bolsonaro. Cutie. That's what's happening, folks. And that's why we're in this situation here. Now I reiterate, the results of yesterday's electoral polls are sending a message. What message? Flávio dropped and Romeo Zema dropped. This little Flávio, peace and love, doesn't appeal to the Bolsonaro supporters. And Romeo Zema, the more right-wing, more moderate crowd that supported him, isn't liking this Romeo Zema. Take away the crazy fighting and chaos. Because now he's acting crazy. I'll repeat that. They've already filed a complaint against him in the federal Supreme Court. I'll show you in a bit, but I want to hear Flávio Dino a little more. Pay attention.
And obviously, it would be an institutional disloyalty because our position and our role do not allow us to participate in this kind of podcast, this kind of underground talk, or garage talk, as Minister Alexandre said. So, on top of everything, it's an institutional cowardice because it's not our place to get into this kind of area.
I miss it, you know? I'm not going to lie to you. Flávio Dino is saying that they, as justices, can't participate in podcasts. They can't keep giving interviews. They can't keep expressing their thoughts and their positions because a judge has to have a more discreet, quieter stance. And so it's cowardly because while deputies and senators and others attack Romeo Zema, attack the federal Supreme Court has to stay quieter and not keep responding because that's the right thing to do. So it's even cowardly. But I'm not going to lie to you. I miss Flávio Dino tearing into these people. Do you remember? Do you remember, my dear, when Flávio Dino was summoned? Flávio Dino was a minister. He was Lula's Minister of Justice. So then, especially the Public Security Committee, which was full of Bolsonaro supporters, kept summoning Flávio Dino to give explanations. Do you remember? There are videos of it today. Look, everywhere, Flávio Dino would give those guys such a hard time that they would even forget the way home. Do you remember, just to give an example, Andre Fernandez from the PL? From Sierra, the federal deputy, who said that Flávio Dino had more than 100 lawsuits, that it was all there on Just. I don't know what that he researched on the internet. Then Flávio Dino had to practically beg. Then he said, oh my God, for God's sake, this doesn't mean I have those lawsuits. I don't have any lawsuits. These are situations where I was mentioned because I was already a governor, I was already a federal deputy, lawsuits that I filed and so on. You need to know a little more, deputy. You can't say something like that and embarrass yourself like that on national television, deputy. So he would go there and tear those people apart. It was blow after blow. I'm not going to lie. I miss Flávio. Flávio Dino putting those people in their place. Do you remember SWAT? He said right to Senator Marcos Duval's face, if you were ever in SWAT, then I'm one of the Avengers. Do you remember, my dear? That's right. And now Flávio Dino can't. Flávio Dino can't give those comebacks like he used to, but I do miss them. I really do. And it's unfair because he can't. Because if he could, oh my goodness, I miss it so much. I really miss Flávio Dino in Avengers mode. Everything happens when it's meant to. He's in the right place right now. Who knows in 2030? Right? Get the code, get the code. Who knows? Maybe in 2030, the Avenger will return to the political scene. Can you imagine? I am thinking about it. I'm not stupid or anything. Not for now. What? Codfish, etc. He chooses the rapporteur and the committee chair. The rapporteur was what I told you, the Centrão. He chose Congressman Leo Prats. Unless I'm wrong, that's his name. He's with Republicanos, part of the Centrão. Right-wing center bloc. That's what I said. He'll pick a right-wing rapporteur. Now, he surprised me. I'm not going to lie. he chose the chairman of the special committee, which will analyze the end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule, a member of the Workers' Party, someone from the left, which is Alencar Santana, a federal deputy. So Hugo Mota has already chosen for the special committee that will consider the substance of the proposed amendment to the Constitution that ends the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule. That ends the work week of up to 44 hours for workers, reducing this workload, which could go to 40 hours a week or even 36 hours a week. He chose someone from the Centrão, center-right, from the Republicanos Party to be the rapporteur of the proposal. This is very important, this right here, because it could change everything, you know? Now we're going to look at the substance, what's going to count, what's not going to count. And he chose Alencar Santana as the president of the special committee. Here he is, look. Alencar Santana will be the president of the special committee on ending the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule, and Leo Prats will be the rapporteur for the proposed constitutional amendment. There are 2 proposals, actually. There are 3. I explained that in detail on last Friday's live stream as well. I'm not going to explain everything again, but I'll remind you, there are 3 proposals. What is being analyzed here a priori are 2. Erica Hilton's proposal, which establishes a 4-day work week with 3 days off. 4 days of work, 3 days off per week. With the transition rule, what does that mean? For the rule to be fully implemented within 360 days in 1 year. And there's also another proposal, which is the constitutional amendment proposal by Reginaldo Lopez, a federal deputy from the Workers' Party. What does he propose? He proposes a 36-hour work week divided throughout the week. What would that be, Andre? If you work 5 days a week, you would only work 1 shift a day. In the morning or in the afternoon, for example. And with a transition rule for adapting it and fully implementing it in the lives of Brazilian workers, lasting 10 years. That's a pretty long transition rule, isn't it? 10 years, I think that's a lot. But anyway, these are the 2 proposals that will be the subject here in the special committee. But we can't forget about the 3rd proposal. The 3rd proposal is from Lula. Lula only sent it because actually the left and the Lula government are backing those 2 proposals, Reginaldo's and Erica's. But since Gumota was stalling to keep it from moving forward, to keep it from reaching the floor, because if it gets to the floor, everyone will vote in favor. So, to stall things, he was dragging out the process. Lula went ahead and sent his own bill from the presidency as a matter of urgency. Because this way, these 2 bills here, the one from the committee, will have to move forward. Because if they don't move forward, this one from Lula that he presented, which was actually to put Fabio, what a tough spot, that's what he did. These 2 will have to move forward, otherwise this one will have to. And what does Lula propose? Lula proposes the following. For every 5 days worked with a maximum of 8 hours per day, you will be required to have 2 days off per week. Lula's proposal doesn't include any transition rule. Then some people ask, Andre, is this going to end the 12/36 schedule? Is it going to end the other schedules? No. There's no plan to end any type of schedule, guys, as long as it matches the approved workload. What will happen is an adjustment to the approved workload. With a 12/36 schedule, you'll work less. If you stay on this schedule, you'll work fewer days a week, because there will have to be an adjustment. So it doesn't end any type of schedule. No proposal provides for that. What does the proposal provide for? The workload? Everyone will have to adapt to whatever is approved. 40 hours a week, 36 hours a week, that's the situation. Do you understand? So that's it. Then, with the pressure Lula created with his emergency proposal, things actually started to move forward. And Hugo Mota will be there today. Today, he will announce who will be on that committee. It should be around 33. If you think about it, the committee has 25 to 33 people, plus the alternates. Then add another 33, another 25 everywhere you look. Federal deputies. So he should announce today who will be part of the committee, who will join the committee. And yesterday he announced the president and the rapporteur here. Let's take a quick look of this announcement. It's extremely important. Guys, this is a milestone in Brazil. Ending this 6 days on, 1 day off schedule will be a historic milestone in the history of workers' achievements in strong Brazil. The National Confederation of Industry has already sent Hugo Mota a document stating their opposition. Remember? Representing several industries and states in Brazil. It's going to be a struggle, so we must stay vigilant. So put this up. End the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule. Let's bring this up on the internet. So when someone goes online, they'll already see a video to end this 6 days on, 1 day off schedule because it's a fight. Let's see what he said here. A little tweet.
We decided to appoint Congressman Alencar Santana from the Workers' Party of São Paulo to chair this special committee. He will be the chairman of the special committee, and the rapporteur of this special committee will be Congressman Leo Prats from the Republicanos Party in Bahia, so that together with the other parliamentarians who will make up the committee, they can work until the end of May on drafting the text. Our schedule, established since I decided to forward the PEC, is that after the Constitution and Justice Committee approved it as admissible, we would immediately create the special committee. That's what we did last week, right after the approval in the Constitution and Justice Committee. And now, following this schedule, we will set up the special committee tomorrow afternoon. I was talking with Representative Alencar and Representative Leo Prats about the need to be able to conduct this debate with a lot of balance, listening to everyone, listening to the workers, listening to the business sector, employers, listening to the government, listening.
Yes, but we have to listen mainly to the worker, right, Hugo Mota? The worker in this case is the main one because they are the ones who actually do the work and produce Brazil's wealth, but don't get to enjoy that wealth. And the political group enjoys it. And we can't forget that Hugo Mota is only moving things forward because Lula sent the project as a matter of urgency. And if he doesn't move it forward now, Lula's project will block the entire agenda. Because until now, he was stalling, just dragging things out, truth be told, and we have to say things as they are. Let's listen to a bit of the speech here. Let me see. It's not here. They took out his speech, but I'll put it here. Look, Alencar Santana, he's good. Alencar Santana is good. This Leo Prats, he's right-wing, center-right. This Leo Prats. And this is where we need to be careful. The president, he's going to the president, who is Alencar Santana, who is left-wing. He will manage all the work of the special committee session. The end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule has already been approved by the Constitution and Justice Committee. What did that approval say? That it is admissible, that it does not violate the federal constitution. Now, in this committee, it's the most important part, where the terms for ending this 6 days on, 1 day off schedule will be debated. What will count, what won't count. So this is very important. Alencar Santana will manage the committee's work. Who speaks, who can speak, leadership, how much time, when there will be a session, motions, voting, and everything else. And now the rapporteur is the one who will write the report and say, this stays, this goes in, okay, this doesn't, okay. This is very important, everyone, and we need to keep an eye on Leo Prats. From now on, I will follow everything closely to share it with you, so you can stay very well informed. By the way, join the WhatsApp group here. Whenever there's something new, I send it to the WhatsApp group first, for example. Yesterday, the complaint against Silas Malafaia and Gustavo Gaia was accepted. I quickly made a video and shared it in the WhatsApp group. Here you find out about things faster because here on YouTube during the live, I talk about everything that's happening at 8:30 and 12:30 every day and the highlights at 4:30. But here in the WhatsApp group is where I send you every notification about new live streams because YouTube isn't notifying a lot of people. And whenever something new happens, I make a quick little video and send it to you so you stay informed about everything. To join, just have WhatsApp on your phone. That's all you need, okay? And follow the section there so you get everything. So we need to keep an eye on Leo Prats. Now, it's funny because you know that the PL, right, Bolsonaro supporters, they're trying to block the approval of the end of the 6-day on, 1-day off work schedule. The leader of the PL, Sostenes Cavalcante, said he didn't like the choice of the president of the committee, Alencar Santana, from the special committee that Hugo Mota chose. And they didn't like Leo Prats either. Do you know what he said about Leo Prats? He said that Leo Prats is left-wing. Since when is the Republicanos Party left-wing? Just to remind you, the Republicanos Party is Tarcísio de Freitas' party. And then Sostenes Cavalcante says they're left-wing. Since when? These people are crazy, you know? The Republicanos Party is the church's party, the Universal Church Bishop Macedo's party. Is that right-wing? We know it's not, right? But what's up with the PL? The PL just wants to block the approval any way they can. Nicolas Ferreira já apresentou the amendment he has to present now. That's when he has to present it. It's about the merits. It wasn't back there in the CCJ about Bolsa. Boss Nicolas Ferreira, who voted against a cooking gas subsidy worth 100 reais. For you who are more vulnerable, who are the worker that doesn't earn almost 50,000, like Nicolas Ferreira, who needs it and for whom a gas voucher would be very helpful. Thank you, that's right. Nicolas Ferreira voted against the gas voucher. Nicolas Ferreira is always criticizing Bolsa Familia, and now Nicolas Ferreira, who is basically on boss welfare. Does that make sense? Something like that. Does that make any sense? Oh, and I always tell you, every benefit that goes to workers and the poorest people in Brazil is fair. As long as we have social inequality like we do in Brazil, where 1% of the population has almost 70% of all the wealth in the country, any benefit that goes to the poorest and to workers in Brazil is fair. While a federal deputy earns almost 50,000 reais, has an office budget of I don't know how much, 100,000 reais, and a parliamentary allowance, fuel allowance, political allowance, housing allowance, and all kinds of benefits. I'm in favor of benefits for you, for the Brazilian people who pay the bills and keep this state running. The day it changes. Essa configuração? I'll say no, now it's right, but it hasn't changed, on the contrary. The perks for a privileged group in Brazil continue even with Lula's government, because let Lula's government try to take it away and see if they don't take Lula down. So as long as there are perks, as long as there are exemptions, subsidies for agribusiness, and as long as there is tax immunity for religious temples. Yeah, the worker deserves the benefit, and the poorest people also have a just cause to receive the benefit. Do you understand? While a federal deputy like Nicolas Ferreira, who has never done anything, nothing. Ask him to show you one thing he got approved that benefits you. With them earning 50,000 reais, what you're getting is fair. You, the worker, and you who are poorer. As long as we have a senator like Flávio Bolsonaro who doesn't have any good plan for Brazil, of anything good for Brazil. And when we look at him, I remember he was one of the main organizers who tried to privatize the beaches in Brazil. As long as we have a senator like that who earns almost 50,000 reais, your Bolsa Familia is not enough. Your gas assistance is not enough. Your daycare assistance is not enough. Yes, my dear, your pay de meia benefit is not enough. And that's the truth. But it's just pocket money for them, right? When it's benefits for them, but they don't use those names. I forgot to tell you that. They don't use those names. They included under names like exemptions, subsidy, immunities, credits, incentives, you know? But it's all aid and benefits for the rich. Do you understand, my dear? So as long as they have these benefits, your benefit is fair.
Thank you.
Get the code, my dear, my dear. That's why I say and repeat, end the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule now. If you agree with me, like the live stream and right there, end the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule now. Now, there are some people who don't like it. There are people who are nervous. Look here. Look at the scammers here. Ricardo Salles from PL. Former minister, now you don't remember, do you? Let me remind you. Bolsonaro's former environment minister, Ricardo Salles. Look at what he said here. Pay attention. Ricardo Salles says he will take the government's proposal to end the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule to Brazil's Supreme Court. It's unconstitutional. What's unconstitutional is your existence as a federal deputy. Why are you saying that, Andrea? He is a defendant. He was Bolsonaro's Minister of the Environment. He is a defendant in Brazil's Supreme Court for corruption. He benefited logging companies there, see? A scheme, a criminal organization of logging companies that caused environmental devastation to get wood and sell it illegally. Correct? He's a defendant in the Supreme Federal Court. He hasn't been convicted because by then he had lost his office. Yeah, as a minister, his case was in the Supreme Court, but then it was sent to the federal court, to the first instance. Now it must return to the Supreme Court again. Because the Supreme Court decided that regardless of whether the person is in office or not, if the person resigned, lost the position, or wasn't elected and so on, the case remains in the Supreme Court. His trial will go back to the Supreme Court. Will it go back, Andrea? Yes, it will go back. That's the only reason he hasn't been convicted until today. So if there's something unconstitutional here, it's this guy being a federal deputy. Do you understand? And he's against ending the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule. He says he'll take it to the Supreme Court because it's unconstitutional. Then you ask me, Andrea, is it unconstitutional? No, it's not. What's unconstitutional is having a congressman like this one here, who's already in hot water at the Supreme Court for involvement with a criminal organization, corruption, and crime. And he's still there to this day, milking the system and earning almost 50,000 res, not to mention the parliamentary allowance and the office budget, right? And the other one here, partner Cavalcante, also from the PL. Remember Cavalcante, his partner? When you talk about a thief, does anyone come to mind? A garbage bag full of money was found where? 2 months ago. Where was it found? At the house, at the residence of Federal Deputy Socio Cavalcante, pastor of the PL of God, Homeland, Family, and Homeland, with a lot of money in the garbage bag. There at his house. He is also against it. See what he said here. He didn't like it. He didn't like it. No, he's upset. He's upset. Why is that? Because he's not interested in benefits for the worker, my dear. He defends the elite, the barons. That's the far right. The far right defends the elite, the barons. They talk about God, country, and family to deceive people. But they defend the barons, the elite, the perks. That's what they defend, you know. Look at what he said here. Pay attention.
Attention, it's a prerogative of the president. He chooses whoever he wants. In my opinion, they weren't very good choices. They are choices much more to the left on a subject that requires a lot of responsibility, a more impartial and neutral debate. But we don't shy away from a fight or a battle.
Is Leo Pratis left-wing? I just told you all here, Leo Pratis was chosen as the rapporteur, which is the most important part. It's not even the presidency. No, that was Alencar Santana. No, the most important one is the rapporteur who will write the report. He'll say what's valid and what isn't. He's from the Republicanos party. It's the same party as Tarcísio de Freitas, the governor of São Paulo. Then he said the choice wasn't good, that the proposals are terrible. Terrible. These people are desperate. Why? Because they're going to impose a defeat on the political group that supports them, even during the election. And the election is happening now. The election is now in August, in October. The first Sunday of October and the last Sunday of October. First round, second round. But they're forgetting one thing. It's the people who really elect them. And I sincerely hope that people are seeing what we're showing. So share the live stream like it's so YouTube recommends it. People need to know about this. Who defends the working people and who wants to go after working people? Why? Because they defend the barons and the elite in Brazil. And people in the Liberal Party are desperate. And they're already preparing the riders. They're preparing amendments. They're seeing what they can stick in there to get it passed, to get it approved, to hinder the end of this 6-day work week with 1 day off. Besides the Bolsa Patron from Nicolas Ferreira, which I just explained to you, so we have to stay alert, okay? I mentioned the issue with Romeo Zema at the start of the live stream. Time's up. I'll discuss it in the 12:30 live stream. They're already pinning it on Romeo Zema. I'll discuss this more in the live stream at 12:30. I'll be back soon. Smash the like button. Also, I noticed you're not commenting. What's up? Help me, for God's sake. Don't leave me talking by myself. Don't leave me talking alone. People already say I'm not very normal, and you still don't talk to me? Then they're going to say I'm talking to myself? It's not enough. Sometimes I do talk. And Kiko, right? So leave your comment, like the live, and share it. And don't forget, today, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, there's a debate. On the other channel, the link is in the first comment. There's a debate. We're going to talk about public safety and about elections. Things got heated, especially during the public safety part. All right, go ahead. The channel Politica Brazil is live. Me and Michelle, I'm on the left. Michelle is on the right. We'll be there at 8 p.m. today. Much love. Take care. Thank you so much for your patience and resilience. Like, share, and comment. Much love. See you at the next live stream. Take care. Bye-bye. I'll be back soon.